Everybody to the September meeting of THS. Pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. The first item of business is approval of minutes. I'm sure you've all read them minutely. May I have a motion for approval?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any additions, deletions, or corrections? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed say nay. Is there anyone in the public that would like to be heard today? Seeing no one, let's move to Streetcar System Performance Report. Mr. Allen.
Good afternoon. August for the streetcar was a very good month. We had 99.88% delivered trips. The missed trips were due mainly to pull-out issues and swapping of cars during trips. And we had 10.25 late departures, and those were primarily due to the signal issues at the CSX interlocking. We had no incidents or accidents in August, which makes me very happy. And all of our inspections were done on time that we normally have. And I would like to report to you on the hurricane while I'm here. We shut the system down Friday, September 9th. When the last car came in at 1:30 in the morning, we ended up shutting down our substations and we secured the bottom of this building. Everything but one car weathered the storm inside the building. And then we resumed service on Friday, September 15th, after we did all the inspections and everything and the cleanup and what repair work we had to do. The only things that are left to do is there are some signage missing out along the right-of-way, mostly the delineators along 8th. We're meeting with the city of Tampa tomorrow, and we're going to work on a plan to get all that replaced.
Good. Yeah, good. That's all good news. Any questions?
What happened to the one car that I guess had damage?
It was fine. We were pleasantly surprised that it didn't even have a broken window or anything from the wind. But we tucked it in track 5 out here, so it was fairly well protected from the building anyway. Okay. So.
And when I drove around Monday right after we were released from EOC, and there were maybe 2 palm branches. I mean, it's hard to describe how lucky that we, Tampa in general, but specifically the streetcar in the facility, because if we'd had that storm surge or those winds, we would be meeting somewhere else to talk about a disposition of assets today, so we're very lucky. Yeah,
you know, speaking of which, I don't know if any of you look at the Tampa Bay Times online, but there's a fabulous article with beautiful graphics explaining why that hurricane behaved like it did and why it moved. And it's worth looking at because the explanation is nothing about Tampa Bay being lucky, which I've heard people say. It's just about the Bermuda High and the pressure zones, and it's astoundingly well done. So I highly recommend you go online today and look at it. Maybe when you get home from work. It's really, really well written, and it's very explanatory, and it explains once again why we're just lucky as hell, really. But thank you. Okay, Mr. Smoker, legal and legislative reports?
Nothing to report, Mr. Chairman.
Nothing to report?
Nothing to report.
Why don't we at least say that the agreement to receive the Bernie from the Streetcar Society is in draft form, yes. Is about to be reviewed, and it will be ready for our board to take up next month. Is that fair to say?
That's correct.
So I gave you a report for you.
Thank you very much. I'm not sure I can give yours, though.
Any questions? Good. Chair's report, none. We're lucky, 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 and I really can't be more thankful. Mr. Rosenstock?
For streetcar, the Lightning will be wrapping the streetcar for 2 full months starting October 1st.
Good.
They're taking roof panels, interior cars, and steps. So they like us. So for that'll be 2 months, and that'll bring in about $3,888.
Thank you. Is this the time to do the Streetcar Fest report? I don't see it on the agenda. Is there any?
It was under my CEO report, and I think, Marco, do we have an update? We will.
Okay.
There
So,
we
yeah,
go.
I have nothing to report. Ms. Egan, your
I
report?
am now Marco. Marco
Or
is
Marco's
the
now
report.
you.
Yes.
Good afternoon, Marco Sandusky, Director of Government and Community Relations. Our team's been working really hard in preparation for this year's Streetcar Fest, which is happening on October 21st. We're really excited to celebrate the 15th year of the streetcar and have been pulling together partners to participate in this year's Streetcar Fest. I have some good news. We've submitted grants. We've received a grant from YCDC. Tonight I'm going to the Channel District CRA meeting in support of the grant that we submitted to the Channel District. And then we also submitted grants to the Tampa Downtown Partnership. We're working with Sail Pavilion. We're also working with Yacht Starship and the Pirate Water Taxi, the Ybor City Chamber as well, on events that are going on and activities that they're going to help us with throughout the day and into the evening. We're also working with the Ybor Saturday Market, and we'll coordinate with their Cupcake Festival again this year.
Cool.
We have 2 sponsorships we're excited about. Our title sponsor is going to be Clo Marketing, so we're excited to have Centro Ybor really involved and excited about what we're doing with Streetcar Fest this year. And they supported us with a $3,500 cash sponsorship as the presenting sponsor. We also got a sponsorship from CJ Publishing. They're going to run for us some advertising in kind, as well as a $1,000 cash sponsorship as well. So
Nice.
we're pleased to have them on board and supporting Streetcar Fest. But we're also excited to have these other partners on board. The aquarium's going to be working with us on a discount, and we've got a number of other merchants in the Ybor Channel District and downtown that are going to work with us on discounts. So we're moving at a very fast pace in our group, and Streetcar Fest is something that we're working hard to make sure it's a great success.
Thank you very much. That's a great report.
Good.
What's the dates again of the Streetcar Fest?
October 21st,
Okay,
a Saturday. It'll be free rides all day from 8 a.m. all the way through, I think we go 2 a.m. in the
We
morning.
have more of these we can give to every board member?
We will, do we have more posters for Streetcar Fest that we can hand out today to board members?
Yeah, I can get.
We can get
Thank
some.
you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Could we also get a copy of the pamphlet that you plan to have? The pamphlet that shows,
We don't have that ready yet.
do you have the draft that we might be able to share?
As soon as we do.
Okay.
Yeah, it is in the works though.
I
So.
saw one, it looked great, so.
Yeah.
We'll take credit for that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what it is.
Great, thank you so much. Okay, so we have action items, but prior to the action items, we need to have the presentation of the fiscal year 2018 budget. Hello.
Good afternoon, President English and Board Member Cindy Zambella, Budget and Grants Manager for HART. Before you is the proposed FY18 streetcar budget and corporate budget for THS. So a few highlights this year. The proposed budget is $2,346,168,000. That includes a new contribution from the CRAs in the amount of $150,000. So that is essentially the difference between FY17 and FY18 budgets. Basically, it was very flat to this year, with the exception of the additional CRA contribution. Revenue hours, ridership, both again being held relatively constant and flat to FY17. And there is some innovative technology that we've discussed in previous board meetings, including smart card technology. We will be accepting square payments for our special events. As you know, wireless technology is being installed on the streetcars as we speak. And then we are also going to be participating in the FDOT Connected Vehicle Program, whereby technology will be installed on, I believe, 10 of our streetcars that will alert both the vehicles that are nearby as well as our streetcars that there are vehicles in the vicinity.
Can I ask a question? What exactly does that mean? I mean, you know, is there going to be, you know, just cars converging on you because you have, it's, you know, is it communicating with these entities or what?
Actually, if Steve Feigenbaum wants to correct my answer, he's more than welcome to do so. But we are technically within the corridor for the connected vehicle program through THEA. So it's gathering information from the streetcars to tell the other vehicles not to drive into us.
Oh, okay, got it.
Yes.
Right.
You know, to date, again, we do not have a
important.
single accident of a streetcar hitting another vehicle. It's always somebody else driving into us. Sometimes ourselves driving into us, but we would like to keep it that way. And if we can keep the cars from driving into us because they're smart enough to know where we are, clearly the drivers aren't paying attention, and there we go.
Okay, well, good. Thanks for explaining that. Appreciate it.
It's not a swarm of streetcars.
No, not swarm of autonomous vehicles. You get there when you're ready to go.
That would be kind of cool.
It would be kind of cool.
Thank you.
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay, thank you.
But if I could add to that,
Yeah.
I certainly think that from a technology standpoint, where streetcars stop, in particular in downtown, you know, connecting that with the apps of the other vehicle systems that are there, in particular the downtowners, so that, you know, if you're want to get a downtowner as, you know, right after you get to Whiting Street Station to the rest of downtown, if you're going somewhere, then you can have a timed pickup when the streetcar gets there. I mean, I'd love to be able to look at how do we get that kind of connection, interaction with the apps that are out there and available with those kinds of technologies. Because I think the downtowner is an obvious easy first step to look at with that, and how do we make that work a little better.
Well, and I will tell you, you know, you know this because the Downtown Partnership is looking at IKE, which is a platform for these larger, you know, interactive signs that are out there that are free. Okay, it's provided by a company that puts it up there for free because they get the advertising from it. And I told them, I said, we need to have that connectivity so that if I'm sitting there and I go, all right, what can I take? Can I take a streetcar? Can I take you know, an Uber or Lyft? Can I take the downtowner? What can I do? Where can I go from here? And to have that all integrated into that system is really, I think, incredibly important. It's exactly what you're talking about. And we're very happy because, you know, having a partner like Downtown Partnership is so easy to get some of this stuff done because they're always looking at the next steps. And that's why I'm glad that you mentioned that, because I'm excited about this new concept. I actually saw your staff today when I was in the building, and they said that according to them, they should be able to do it with the city. So whether or not the city agrees to it. And we need to make sure that the mayor's on board. And if we get him on board, I think we're going to have a nice system out there. We might want to even put it in some of the areas that are where there are streetcar locations.
Steve is taking notes.
Yeah, good. Thank you for taking notes, Steve.
Okay. With respect to service levels, continuing with 3 cars operating in 20-minute frequencies. Most of the operating hours, with the exception of 30-minute frequencies, Mondays through Saturdays from 1 to 2 a.m. Again, annual miles and trips relatively constant to FY17. This proposed service level before you does not include the proposed service that will be part of the CRA contribution that will be funded with that contribution. So I don't know if this is the time that you would like to discuss that. You can bring up Ms. Reyes-Burkhardt.
Good afternoon, Ruthie Reyes-Burkhardt with HART. We went out with some of our board members, thank you, and the CRAs did agree to fund an additional $50,000 each. Up to $150,000 was awarded to operate additional pilot services. When we promoted that service to the CRAs, we did talk about additional or free rides, whether it was Fridays or Saturdays, additional later nights in the case of where we would serve when there are later nights at the Amelie or events that the 3 CRAs would like to provide some free rides to. After discussion with different members of the CRAs, it is the pleasure of this board. We want to take back a recommendation that we go with Saturdays free, although Fridays has a nice ring to it, free Fridays. What we heard back through some of the different meetings and members talking to us, we met with the Downtown Partnership Group, as in addition to the Ybor City, YCDC, and the Channel Side Group, and that's basically what we heard, is that they like the Saturdays because it encouraged families and others to ride in more than just the Friday night ridership that we see an abundance of. So, and in the fact that we have free Fourth Friday with an armband as a promotion already happening, that Saturdays did offer an opportunity for residents and folks along the line to experience the system and maybe encourage some ridership from a more family-oriented perspective.
How much of that $150,000 would we spend if we did free Saturdays?
If you did the year-long free Saturdays promotion, that would be approximately $120,000 of that and that would be what you would have for Fridays as well. The ridership revenue is about the same cost for Friday or Saturday.
So we would still have extra money.
$30,000 for events.
In addition to the money that's in our budget for marketing, which we're now using some of for special event, free rides and things. Is that correct, Cindy? Yeah, okay, okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So if we would get, just as a final, that we would like to get some direction on what we'd want to take back to the CRAs from this board so we could make that recommendation and launch in October.
Well, what do y'all think?
We think the Saturdays is the best way to go. I mean, again, it'll bring people back and forth. Fridays, during the day, people are at work, and so it really wouldn't get used as much, but we think the Saturdays would get the biggest bang.
It's a big deal. I mean, that's all day long and all evening.
Yes.
Okay.
Mickey?
I agree. I think Saturdays are a real good play for that.
I totally agree, and especially because of the cruise ships too. I mean, I think that you...
Yeah, they are around on Saturdays.
Yeah, and I think that that's a big deal because usually they are either leaving on Saturdays, sometimes they're taking off on Saturdays, and it's a good way of kind of telling people, hey, you know what, you could be in Ybor City early in the day, and you just take the streetcar over to your cruise ship. You can park anywhere else, or you can go back and forth. It'll help Ybor City. It'll help, I think, us in terms of getting that ridership and people saying how easy it is, and then eventually maybe they'll ride it again.
Well, it does. It would be a great thing to bring people in. I mean, families in on Saturdays who find things to do all the time on Saturdays. Just out of curiosity, I don't need the answer this minute, but I'm curious about what it would cost if we ran till 1:30 on Friday and Saturday instead of 1. If that would make any difference in your opinion.
We just have hourly after 1 o'clock.
Oh, okay. You rent till 2 anyway.
Yes,
okay, never mind. That's good. Good.
We knew you were going to ask that.
Okay, so Saturdays it is.
Yeah, I think you have a consensus from us. Go for it.
Fantastic, thank you.
Do you want to make a motion?
Yes, please.
Okay, I move that we accept it for free Saturdays.
Second.
Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Thank you.
Fantastic, thank you.
Thank you for all your work to get those funds put together.
Yeah, thanks for going to all those meetings.
Mr. Chair, can I add something
Absolutely.
about that? And I think one of the things we learned in going to a few of those meetings that I was at as well, the demeanor of the Channel District CRA, I think, is something that we need to foster and meet with them beyond just the meetings to discuss their enthusiasm, or a few of their members' enthusiasm, for offering us a much larger pot of the money than we asked for. And they had that in discussion and are looking at the streetcar as something they think is potentially and can be, and if they support it, will be a vehicle that offers a good alternative mode of transportation around downtown. And they had some robust discussion in the meetings about throwing in a lot more money or looking at ways in the future to do that, and what would it mean to the streetcar and service in their area. So I think it's opportunity for us to continue to jump on that while it's hot, and perhaps have discussions with them, their board members, as we move forward. But I thought that was surprisingly refreshing when we went there, Ruthie. It was really, really neat to see.
Well, that's a good suggestion, and we actually had agreed to go back, I don't know, quarterly or every 3 or 4 months and report kind of how things are going with their money.
We did agree to provide a quarterly report about what the funds were being used for and how much ridership perhaps was encouraged as a result of that free promotion.
That's great. Thanks.
Thank you.
Excuse my stomach, oh my God.
Good to go?
Yes, but my stomach is grumbling, I'm so sorry. Back to Cindy.
Okay. Continuing on with the HART streetcar budget, relatively unchanged from what you saw back in July, with the exception of the additional revenue from the CRAs. That would be in the revenue line under THS contribution. You can see where that has increased by the corresponding amount. Categories broken out into more granular detail as requested previously by the board. But again, somewhat unchanged from what you saw back in July. Same thing with the THS annual budget. Again, you'll find that the THS operating revenues are going up as a direct result of the additional CRA assessment. Corporate budget, most of all of these numbers are provided by the City of Tampa based on not only the increase in the assessment, but any other revenues that they anticipate, and expenses primarily being CSX insurance that contribute to the expenses for the corporate board. Board expenses, again, provided by City of Tampa, relatively unchanged from 17. And operating statistics and including positions, again, very, very similar to what you've seen in previous budgets and presented to you up to this point for FY18. Next steps, well, you have an action item directly following this presentation to approve both the corporate board budget as well as the HART streetcar board budget, and then these will both advance to our regular HART board on public hearing next Monday for approval, as well as next Wednesday, I believe, or Tuesday, to City of Tampa for approval in their board meetings as well.
Thank you. Any questions? If not, we have resolutions. The first one would be Resolution R 2017-0905, approval of the proposed fiscal year 2018 HART annual operations budget in the amount of $1,979,688.
Move the resolution.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. The next resolution is R 2017-0906, approval of proposed fiscal year 2018 Tampa Historic Streetcar annual corporate budget in the amount of $985,078.
Move the resolution.
We have a motion and a second.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Resolution R 2017-0907, approval of the second of one-year extension to the operator's agreement for the Tico Line streetcar system. Motion and a second, please.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, so what's the deal?
Yeah, unless we sit down and negotiate separately, the streetcar operating agreement automatically renews. But we, last year, brought it to the board for actual approval. So we just do this to make sure that we get a finalized approval. It does technically renew itself. It just gets it on the agenda.
Okay, good. Any other comment? If not, all in favor? David?
The only comment would be that our strategy in light of the future of THS as an entity has been to just let it renew annually, as opposed to attempting to renegotiate it.
Right. Right. Well, government moves slowly, so the dissolution of THS is premature, apparently, but may still come in the future.
Right.
So we'll carry on with our budget until such time as we don't need to do that. Okay. All right. Any other comment? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. And that concludes our agenda. Is there anything on the compliance report list that you'd like to hear more about? Any old business? Yes?
Old business, just, I mentioned it before the meeting, but the old business is, this will be really my last meeting. I can't do this anymore. I know Mike was surprised to see me.
When I walked in, it was interesting
I'm
to
trying
see
to, I made quorum today.
You did make quorum.
So, to get us going, but I really just can't. I'm just swamped with so many things going on. This is just it. I really like this group. I enjoy being part of this. All of you are great. All of you are great. But it's just...
Now, listen, you've done great service, and we really appreciate it, and particularly since you tried to resign over a year ago, and you haven't been answered. So thank you again for everything you do to help us and continue to do, and, we're your friends, too.
Yes.
And John, just as a reminder, you have already contacted the mayor and saying that you can't serve anymore, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and
he sent me a letter saying thank you.
Did he even give you a letter saying thank you?
He did send me a letter.
But no other additional person. That's the only problem,
I even
right?
sent him a person to replace me.
Okay. Well, maybe I'll contact those guys and say, hey, by the way, poor Mr. Robinson is not doing so well. He wants to go back to his neighborhood, and now,
yeah, exactly.
Please let him go.
Neighborhood. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Any other business to discuss? If not, this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.